Maybe start a trend of parents loving and accepting their children's biological sex and normalizing happy, healthy children who don't rely on drugs and surgery to maintain their identity. Just a thought. Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for the support. On my channel, I like to give my opinionated perspective on things that are happening today, things that I think actually matter to everyday people, especially those of us trying to raise kids in the insanity known as today's society. I do like to talk about current events and politics, and my perspective does tend to be more on the conservative side of things. Please like this video, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and also share it with others. Be sure you are subscribed so that you can help me to grow this channel and hopefully reach more people that value logic, reason, and sanity. Also, be sure to find me on Rumble under Outspoken Samantha in the event that YouTube decides I have violated their community standards and chooses to kick me off their platform forever. That being said, let's get into today's topic. So I do have some really important things I want to talk to you guys today about, but before we get started, I'm going to let you in on just a little secret. You may have noticed that my hair is just a little bit shorter today. I actually like to wear hair extensions. I do not naturally have a lot of hair or thick hair, so I like to add those in. Makes me feel a little better about myself, and I am so truly jealous of people that just naturally have those thick, luscious locks that they were born with. But my head was hurting, so I decided not to wear them today. I've had a lot of people tell me to take biotin, to take vitamins to help with hair growth and to maybe, improve the natural situation. A few weeks ago, I actually did start taking biotin, and after about a week, I started getting this really obnoxious reaction on my skin, and I couldn't figure out exactly what it was coming from because I've never really been allergic to anything, and I figured that maybe it was the vitamins, maybe it was biotin, so I stopped taking it. But I had this reaction that was kind of, it felt like it was moving all over my body. I would go to sleep and my arms would be, kind of red and itchy, and I'd wake up and that would be fine, but then my neck would be red and itchy. It was just really obnoxious. So in one of the videos that I did probably just a couple weeks ago, if you watched it, you may have noticed that my bottom lip was really puffy and swollen, and it really looked like I had just gotten lip injections in my bottom lip. It was really just the fact that on one of the mornings I woke up, this reaction had moved to my face, and it made my lip look really funny and goofy. And my husband was like, why don't you just wait to record the video? You don't need to do it today. And I was like, no, I really want to do it. I don't think it's that obvious. And then when I go back and look, it really is kind of obvious. So those are just personal notes that I wanted to throw in today because, I'm an open book. I like to share these things. But let's get into what it is that we really, really need to be discussing today. So what I wanted to talk today about was this idea, or what I see as parents essentially ruining their own kids. With all the books, the drag events, the activists pretending to be teachers in our children's classrooms, of everything that has evolved from this infiltration of gender ideology and woke indoctrination that's pretty much everywhere now, I think the thing that blows my mind the most is what all of this has manipulated parents into doing to their own children. We know that predators are everywhere. We know that there are shady characters with evil motives, and we know these people exist. But it's usually parents that are the ones on the other side of that evil. They're the ones standing in between children and the things that can harm them. So I think when I see parents as the ones holding their child's hand and walking them right up to this evil, like literally throwing their child into the lion's den, that's what gets me the most. And I have yet to find a rational explanation for it or nail it down to, one or two identifiable reasons. Because as a mom, I have 3 children of my own, and I spend all day, every day trying to keep myself from literally being paralyzed by fear about all the things that are trying to ruin children these days, and trying to protect my children from the arrows that are thrown from every direction at them. I cannot understand parents who are completely blind to the dangers of what society is doing to their children, but what they are doing to their own children. So let's look at a few examples of this, and this is just the things I came across this week.
And it's what you've done to There's nothing more to say. No more race.
I hope you realize this is actually how it is. Like, there's nothing permanent until they are an adult. Before that, it's just pronouns, clothes, puberty blockers to buy them a few years, to meet with a therapist to make sure that, like, they're persistent and consistent. But even that is not permanent.
Now, this is not the first time I have seen somebody use a little kid not wanting to get a haircut, especially a little boy not wanting to get a haircut, as an indication that they must be a girl. And I'm sure all of you rational people can see how stupid that is, because this is a common thing. But as a parent who would use that as justification to change your child's entire identity, you have to be honestly looking for a reason to have a trans child. You have to be looking for a reason so that you can be part of this trend and therefore be praised by left-wing activists as early in your child's life as possible. And you can argue with me on that point all you want, but it's the only reason that you could possibly be doing this, because you're willfully ignoring the fact that not liking haircuts is a common thing amongst millions of kids, and you're using it to justify changing your child's entire identity because of an expression you saw on their face. And therefore that must mean their internal truth is indicating who they really are, even if they don't know it themselves. And you're using it to put them on drugs that are potent enough to halt their entire physical and mental development. You're using a haircut as the go-ahead that you were waiting for so that you can put your child on powerful medication and you can start posting on social media how accepting and tolerant you are. I went to cosmetology school in 2002, and I've been in and out of the profession for over 20 years. I've been cutting hair for that long, and I've been cutting my children's hair their entire lives. And my boys are almost 12 and 10 years old, and they have never enjoyed getting a haircut. When they were little, they used to cry and scream, and it was just kind of really challenging to do. Now they kind of tolerate it a little bit more, but it's never a good time. It's never something they're excited to do. You know, they get mad when I have to tell them to move their head in a certain direction, and it's always something that they just can't wait till it's over with. They're not traumatized by the fact that they have short hair. It's just the hair cutting process has never really been, a good time for them. So in this video, it actually looks like this kid is sitting still. He's being a good boy for the stylist. I can also see how he might be exhausted. If they're at Disneyland, they've been running around this giant theme park, and he's sitting down now. And now that he's having a little bit of a chance to rest, he's winding down from all of this excitement. So that's what I see in this video. So like I said, you have to really be digging to see this as some kind of indication that your child wants to be a completely different identity for the rest of their lives. How about you try this? Try accepting your child the way that their body was made. How about you try a little bit of tolerance for their basic biology and the fact that you likely have a child that is perfectly fine the way that they are. And that if you don't influence them in this gender craze, they'll be happy with the body and sex they were born as. I know that it means you won't get into this woke club and you'll miss out on a lot of likes and shares on your TikTok videos, but maybe start a trend of parents loving and accepting their children's biological sex and normalizing happy, healthy children who don't rely on drugs and surgery to maintain their identity. Just a thought.
If you want girl parts and you don't have them, you can do special surgery where they turn your penis inside out and there's a vagina inside.
I don't understand how parents can put these ideas in their kids' heads so casually. Parents are talking to their kids about life-changing surgery like it's not a big deal. Like, having that conversation with your child, I mean, what does that even look like? You can be a lawyer, you can be a doctor, you can be a construction worker, you can, be anything that you want to be. Maybe you'll grow up to be somebody that likes to wear jeans, or maybe you'll grow up to be somebody that likes to wear suits. Hey, and you can even remove body parts that you don't like. No big deal. Why would you do that? What is the reasoning there? A perfectly healthy child that has no medical reason to actually need surgery, that you should actually be thankful for, because there are children born without that luxury, without that privilege, that aren't born perfectly healthy, and they do have to go through, medication and drugs and surgeries and trials throughout their life just to have some kind of normalcy. So why would you go out of your way to impose that on your child completely unnecessarily? It's a big deal, aside from the fact that you're clearly grooming your child towards a very specific ideology so that you can be part of this woke club and get all of the praise and attention for being more tolerant and accepting than people who adhere to traditional values, but you are telling them that they can do something to their body like they're trying to decide on a Halloween costume. Like, that's how trivial it is to you, and how, meaningless it is to tell your kid that this is a possibility. If you're actually interested in the well-being and health of your child and the happiness of your child, you might want to do a little bit of research before telling them to do something like this, because spoiler alert, mom, this surgery actually has a very low success rate. If you listen to transitioners or detransitioners who have gotten this far in their transition, they will tell you that they lose most sensation in that area because of this surgery. They're not given anything close to what female genitalia actually looks like. It's more like they're expecting Gucci and they get something from AliExpress. Their body treats this new hole like a wound and constantly tries to close it up. And there have been so many issues with this specific surgery that they're opening clinics just for the aftercare of these patients, just dedicated to people who have had this surgery and caring for them. And it's not going well. It's gone so badly. So sorry, mom, I try really hard not to judge other parents, because I know that none of us are perfect and we are all trying to do the best we can. But honestly, this is child abuse and you are a terrible parent. Of course, we always have to include a clip of a family-friendly drag show, because these things are still happening all the time in every city and every community across the country, because this is just where we're at as a society. This is adult entertainment, and so many people try to make this about the drag queens or being against drag queens or against the LGBTQ community or whatever it is that they want to say. That's just completely false. You have to ask yourself, if these same grown men were dressed in different attire and performing in a strip club, would you take your children to see them there? If these same grown men were making adult porn films, would you rent that film for your child and put them in front of it like it was the latest animated feature? It's just the fact that this is not appropriate for kids, and it never should have been normalized as such. If you guys follow Sara Gonzales, she's here in Texas. She has a website called Defend Kids Texas. She also partners with Family Project Texas. She's doing podcasts and she's doing all of these things to expose these events going on. And she attends these family-friendly drag shows, kind of low-key, undercover a little bit, and gets parents who are there with their kids to talk to her about why they're there. And she doesn't let them know that she's actually there to expose it for the sexual grooming that it clearly is. At one of the drag shows that was touring Texas throughout December, it was the Christmas version of this show, she had this conversation with this mom.
Can I ask you a question? Do you find this to be age appropriate for your children?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little more, I'm not as conservative, but I mean, really, it's not any different than, I mean, Disney, they have similar things. Like, it's really not that far from it.
I had sex with my father's boss.
It's really not that far off from Disney. There you have it. With the content that Disney is releasing these days and the not so secret gay agenda that some of the top people over Disney Entertainment admitted to pushing in their content, and the child trafficking issues that have been uncovered over the years, this mom is probably a lot more accurate than she intended to be. So yes, honestly, this this drag show was probably not that far off from the Disney that we have these days. That being said, it is still not appropriate for children. I've listened to a lot of psychologists on these issues and how it affects kids' brains and what it does to them psychologically when they've been exposed to stuff like this at a young age. And this is a topic I hope to cover more in the future, because I really do think that we need to understand not only why is this wrong and why are these restrictions in place, but what it actually is doing to these underdeveloped brains of children that are just still in, a very crucial time in their lives of when they're really, trying to understand the world around them, and they're just not mature enough to handle the content that adults can handle. Some of the points that have really resonated with me as I've been looking more into this is the fact that kids are obviously not developed enough to understand what it is that they're seeing. This information, it's not processed in the same way that we process it as adults. And adults like this mom is assuming that her young daughter that she has with her is able to handle what she's seeing in the same way that she is, which is crazy. If you've ever spent like 3 minutes with a child, or pretty much anyone under the age of 25, it's beyond obvious that they are not on the same level cognitively as someone with a fully developed brain. Even people with fully developed brains aren't doing so well these days, but content like this is very jarring for children. This is why we're supposed to introduce conversations and content like this in a very measured, age-appropriate way as they grow and as they get older. Shows like this essentially take children from having seen nothing to jarring their brain with not only content that is too explicit for them to understand, but it's extreme and an unrealistic version of what healthy sexuality is. This is at the far end of the spectrum and not even close to representative of what most adults experience, and that they themselves, if not blasted straight into it, won't gravitate towards when they're old enough to start exploring these paths. I just don't get it. This is so devastating to kids, yet there are so many parents who are so casual about it. They've been so desensitized to it. They just think it's a no big deal. And they've bought this insane lie that this is about tolerance and acceptance. But I've said it once and I'll say it again. If you need a drag queen, essentially a live porn show, to teach your child about tolerance and acceptance, then you are a terrible parent. The world is telling them that these forms of content are fine, that gravitating toward an identity that literally forces you to rely on potent drugs and surgery for the rest of your life is fine, and that people who don't do these things with their kids, like myself and like the sane and logical people that are watching this, that we're the problem. Make it make sense, guys. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Please give this video a thumbs up. These things are just very easy things and ways to support my channel. Be sure you are subscribed. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time I post a video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.